Okay, so this time we are going to go for our turtle stuff. Okay, bye. So we were actually working on turtle and we had refined the character. We had given bones and everything to the character. Now it's time to connect these bones, right? It's time to connect the create the IKs and FKs in the character. Now, what are IKs, FKs? What are the connection in the bone, and what are constraints? In the earlier classes, we had been doing constraints like quite a lot, right? We had been we you I think was not available when I was teaching reaction managers and everything. Right, at that time you were there, right? After that, then I was not taking the classes of rigging. So that's good. Till then, you were with me, right? At that time, you were there. And those, okay, so those are done through connections, constraints, we call it. So, how do you actually work on the constraints and how do you use those to create some characters? How do you know create the rigs of the character and how do you yeah, I had already made it. These are just simple lines whom I turned into a right. I'll just connected them. It's a group basically. It's a shoulder group, gimbal, pelvis. This everything is a group. We had named them accordingly. Everything. Currently, I had not converted this into anything. I've just yeah. It colors is there. I just use that this color to color that particular object color, so in order to give them a particular color. And these are the things which are not going to be seen in the render view. So if I'm going to render that thing, you won't be seeing any right, you won't be seeing any controller over there because they were not being rendered of, right? So now what I'm going to do, so we are going to animate this, sorry, we are going to rig this particular model and we need to connect our bones joints with these controllers. So first of all, let me just hide this one. So I'll just select and hide selection, so the object will be hidden. Now I have this bone connection which we had already created. This is called skeleton setup or bone setup, right? Earlier we had created this. Now none of them are available, right? So okay, so what I'm gonna do now, other than that, I had created the controllers and given proper name to them. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna join these controllers along with my hands and everything, right? So I'm gonna join them and I'll be creating multiple rigs in order to give complete freedom to your particular character. So how I'm gonna do that? First I'm gonna be creating a IK for this one. Now what is IK and what is FK? Let's talk about IKs and FKs in a detailed manner. See, riggings are basically I should say consist of connections between controllers and bones, right? Everything is actually connect. This is the whole rig in a sentence, right? If you talk about riggings, connections are the things which we had done earlier. So the types of connections are there, that there is constraint. This is a form of connection, right? You connect one object with another along with constraints. So it's a kind of connecting one property of particular object, connecting that property to another property of any other particular object, right? So that is constraint. Then when we talk about other types of constraints, so there is wire parameters. Wire parameters are the type of connections that could be established um, for an infinite purpose. For example, if we create a constraint and we are rotating it, right? So it is the animation could not be happening without providing any timeline keys, right? Every time we had to, if you wanted to move a hand, you need to first give a key, then give a second key, then only the animation will happen, otherwise the animation won't be happening. But in wire parameters you actually give an order that if my character is move a bit forward, then it's automatically gonna rotate, gonna scale anything. Maybe might be probably it's basically for a vehicle, that if you are moving a vehicle, its a wheel has to be moved automatically, because every time you can't be selecting wheel and giving it a keys, right? You can't give the keys to it. Exactly. So at that point what we do, we use wire parameters. So we just no, these are not wire parameters. But there is no. These are controllers. There is no wire parameter currently applied to the model. It is raw model, right? Raw rig is there. There is nothing. No connection is applied right now. So I was just telling that wire parameter is actually for something that you wanted to be infinite animated, right? So if you are moving a car, its wheel has to be animate automatically rather than you providing those informations into that. The if you are providing the keys, then there is no use of wire parameter. So if I let's just say I should say something like that, that let's just say if there is a plane and you are flying a plane, you are animating a plane right on the air. So when plane from one value, from one position to another position, when you animate that plane, every time its fan has to be on, turned on, right? So you can't be just you can give that from point A you will give a one key, and then at the end of the frame you will give another key. Now the wire parameter actually uh, works in such a way that you don't need to be providing those keys, right? You will just rig that character, give them a wire parameter onto the fan, that whenever your object or the plane is moving, it is automatically be rotating itself, and the speed of the motion will actually control your rotation of the particular fan, right? So that connection is infinite because there is no key available there. That is being created by wire parameters. Okay, so you rig it completely. Have you seen a clockwork? Have you seen clockwork? How clocks machine works? There are a lot of gears. So if you move one gear, it is automatically be going to move other gears, right? You just have to move one gear, and everything will be moving. Similar way a parameter works, right? Because the more you rotate that particular gear, it will going to be affect all of my machinery, right? So that is the for use of wire parameters. So that is one type of connection, right? One is constraint, one is wire parameter, then there is a reaction manager. Reaction manager is type of a connection which actually reacts on a particular trigger. You need to give a trigger to the animation, right? So this time, for example, if you are let's just say uh, if you are just animating a car, right? And you want that whenever that car is touching a specific block, or either when it stops on a particular purpose position, its uh, what I should say dicky trunk, its trunk has to be opened automatically whenever you stops that car, and it's automatically be opened. So that stopping of a particular or the position will be your um, reaction manager, right? It works like that. If you are pushing a button and other thing is actually rotating or other things are started moving, right? So it works on a trigger basis. So when you trigger that particular condition, then it is the animation will automatically be started. Okay, so that is a reaction manager, right? It works on whenever you wanted to uh, grab a fist of a character. If you wanted to, create a grab animation, so every time you can't be selecting each and every right finger and then you will be joint rotating every, right. So in the reaction manager you can actually give a controller to this ki whenever I put a slide on, it automatically starts grabbing. So that connection is actually called reaction manager. You generally when you work on these, you can't be animating these all the time, right? You can't be giving animation to this. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so you need to create all these controllers such as I had created over here. So when you turn this grab on, it will actually start grabbing everything. So currently it is not connected, so we're gonna connect that and we're gonna connect each and everything over here, right? So that is your connections in the rigging, right? So connections, constraints, wire parameters, reaction managers, right? These are the major constraints. Connections, these are the connections, right? Type of connections are there. Okay, so you can use them in controllers, you can use them in the geometries, you can use anyhow along with the surface or everything, you can use them anywhere, right? These are the connections, right? And then there is your in the dynamics we use warp connections. In the dynamics we normally use this, so we are not going to talk about them in these classes because we are going for a rigging of the character. And then there is your link constraints. Link, yeah, it's kind of that where you provide a certain um, physics to a particular object. Exactly, that is warp connection, right? So we're going to talk about that in these upcoming classes as well, but currently we are working on the rig. So in link, this is the linking of everything to a character. So these are the type of corrections you will be getting in rigging. Now let's talk. Yes, you can note each and everything. Good morning. Good afternoon. How's your health? So you are having electrols or everything? You're on that. Okay, good. Take it easy for today. You don't need to be very fast, but yeah, do try do some things. Today I had actually continued that. Yeah, I yeah we actually merged all of these. Now we are going to use them and the bloods and everything. We are going to put them in the later on upcoming classes. Okay. Today is also your class for the rigging, but okay. So warp connection and link is there, right? So these are the types of connections. Okay, these are the, yeah, exactly. So these are the types of connections you do in rigging. Rigging is divided into two portions: connections between controllers and bones, right? So these are the type of connections we are talking about, and now we are talking about motions. Type of motions. Rigging is all about connections and motions. Controllers and bones are all objects on which these connections are being applied. But the types in the rigging, if you are going to sum up the rigging, you will see that one is connection and one is your motions, type of motions, the limitations and motions on which you are going to rig your whole particular character. Now, what are motions and what are types of motions basically? Types of motion in rigging, you will get two types of motion. One is independent and one is dependent. Now, independent and dependent, that means in the independent motion, your bone or whatever skeleton or probably whatever you are, your rig, exactly, correctly, he knows that, right? So in independent, your bone, your object, whatever rig you are creating, all of the objects which are connected among themselves are going to work independently. So if you are such as I have told you about the wire parameters, that you are moving one gear and everything is connected, that is not an independent motion, because everything is based on each other, right? Independent motion is something on which you can actually move each and everything all together, right? All together on individually in the independent motion. And when we talk about dependent motion, that means it is going to be dependent on one object, or probably if you are connecting two objects each other, one or two, either both ways, the motion can be dependent, right? So if you are going to move, let's just say hands, hand is the best example for a dependent motion, because if you are going to move your shoulder, it is somewhat going to affect your elbows, right? Then if you are going to move your hands or your forearm section, right, it is somewhat going to affect, right? So all of that is dependent. Your legs are dependent motion, because if you are going to lift your leg, you are automatically actually rotating your thighs, right? So all of that is dependent motion, and now they could be achieved through two things. One is IK and one is FK. So these are the two options that could actually help you out to create these two motions. So if we talk about dependent, independent, these are FK, and dependents are your IKs, right? Now full form of FK is forward kinematics, and IK is inverse kinematics. Okay, these are the two options that will give you that motion. Independent, right, forward kinematics, and dependent will be inverse kinematics. Okay, now, or I think it's vice versa basically. No, I think this is okay, FK and IK, right? So the two types of motion you understood, right? Now you will decide by yourself when you see the rig itself that how they are going to apply it inside of a character. So how do you apply all that? We had created this character earlier, which is a low poly character for a turtle, right? We had created that, and then we had actually shifted all the geometries and everything. So now the details could be seen right over here, right? And the texturings and everything is done inside of a ZBrush. You have already seen the character. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that, and let's provide those IKs and FKs to the. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my first layer, first bone, and I'm gonna provide that to each and everything, right? So I'll just select, and legs and hands are somewhat working differently. Legs are totally kinematics, inverse kinematics, IKs, but hands can be created on a FK and IK both. You can create legs for FK also, but I would say ki always it's way better to create an leg into a IK. how to apply that, then you will see the motion. So first of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select go to animation, and here I will be getting lot of options over here. So I am not getting any connection right now. So let me see where are IK solvers. Here are IK solvers. You will get HI, HD, IK limb solvers, spline IK solvers. We had worked on IKs and FKs, but you won't be finding any FK actually over here, because FK can be applied through constraints. So that is why they don't give a separate name for FK. They just give an inverse kinematics. So how to apply that? Currently this is HI solver. If you are going to create in the Mo, you will get a simple HI solver information if your software is connected to the internet. HI solver means hierarchy. H for hierarchy, I for independent, right? So it's a hierarchy independent. Now what is a hierarchy? Hierarchy is the connection of a joint. Okay, so I'll be selecting this one, and I'll put a H. If I wanted a FK, then I will be HD, hierarchy dependent. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll just select this one, and I will be giving a IK solver for an HI, and I will be creating something like this, right? It is automatically be selected. Now I'll just click over here, and you can see that my leg has got a locator on it. Now what is a locator? Locator is actually your controller that actually connects with your bone, and this will provide you an automatic motion for your knee. Okay, these are your inverse kinematics. Now as you can see, there is a multiple options are there which we are going to learn in upcoming classes, but this is your IK. Now this is dependent, because if I am going to move this, it will automatically, this one will automatically be adjusted, the connection throughout the, everything is affected and everything is connected. Okay, so all of them behave something like that. Now as you can see, my FK size is quite a bit, sorry, IK size is quite a bit, and I need to modify my chain, my solver. So what I'll do, I'll just create on the object properties. Was there any properties? Let's go to properties and see those dimensions are over here. So if I'm not getting anything right over here, I will be going to settings in the hierarchy panel. In this panel, this is the motion, right? As I have told you about the motions, you will get the IKs and FKs settings in the motion panel, because these are the separate panels, separate motions. So now what I'll be doing, I'll be selecting the IK solver and display solver. In the size, I will be reducing the size. Let's just say what size it is. It's gold display. Yeah, this one is gold display and reflector display. Now there are multiple options in the IK solver. So this is a particular locator which is also being called a solver. It is non-renderable object, but it holds the properties of a location, okay, among the viewport. This actually helps when you do lot of things. So I'll be showing you that. So now what we are going to do, we are going to reduce its size till approximately, it should not affect the geometry. Whatever the geometry, you need to at least get it to understand, right? So this is the geometry, and I'll be just selecting that, right? It's a we had actually created the highest high poly character, and turned all of the details into a low poly one, right? We transferred all those details. So you can see those so now over here I will be actually providing that, and the trick is to always the bend is the trick, right? Otherwise the it could not work as you want. So if you are going to provide an IK over in a hierarchy, your hierarchy has to be bent on the direction that, right? So if knees we are creating knees, then we need to bend it accordingly. Already you need to create that bend, otherwise it will be um, or bending in a separate or a different direction. So it's all depends on the bend. So for that I'll be just selecting this one. I'll go to animation, go to hierarchy, HI solver, and then I will be putting that exactly in, I think this one. Let's put it, and then it will provide me something like that motion. Okay, now let's just name them. This is your IK chain, so I will be going for IK left leg, right, and this will be exactly IK right leg. Okay, so we had applied all that names and everything to left leg, right leg. This is required when you actually rig, because every time when you provide a skin to your character you will be needing all those names. So now let's explore these a bit, and then we are gonna talk about the connections and everything. So this is IK. Hands has to be we are going to do that in upcoming class, because hands has to be created in a separate manner. I will show you how they are, because there is a very better way and a professional way to do that. So first of all, what I'll do is that I have selected one IK, and you can see there is a controller over here. So these the all the properties which all of this locator is all about, right? All of those properties, the connections and everything is being controlled here through here they are going to control. Assign controller, so you can actually assign that with anything, but we are going to do that in a much easier way. So assign controller is through on which you can create the connections. IK solver, these are the options that could be used with. You can see there is IK solver and there is bone joints. IK solver has IK limb and IK HI solver. HI solver is history independent, that means you can use this something like that. And there is also a limb solver, which we are going to talk about in the later on class. You can see say that it's kind of a preset. It already has that presets of a limb. So we'll tell you about it. Now if you are turning this on enable, then it will, currently I have disabled that one, right? So if you are going to enable it, automatically FK will stop. So if I open that, so IK for FK pose is stop. Now IK slash FK, if it is if we had applied both of these animations or motion, I would say both of the motions in one bone, then I could create a snap over it, right? So it could automatically be snapping on. Yes, that is what we are going to do in hands. Preferred angles are the angles on which you actually your object is tilted, right? So you won't be needing all of these to change for now. Bone joints, these are the things from where to where your IK is connected, so that you can see over here. Right, you can actually pick those. Yeah, if you wanted to do, if you say find out that your IK hierarchy is incomplete, or yeah, so if you wanted to complete that, just select a start joint and then select the last joint. Yeah, it is automatically be set into that. This is the IK solver. Then there will be a IK solver properties. So how many types of properties you want, that is inside of IK solver. For example, if I do the leg, but there is no rotation, I do not have any rotation of the knee, that is can be handled with your IK solver plane. Knee doesn't have any rotation, but when you rotate from a thigh, from your thigh you actually rotate knee. So at this point I could not rotate this, because there is no option. if I wanted that outward knee direction, I have to, put it over in the left direction so that I could get this outward knee direction. Or either I had to rotate my. That is not possible. Rotation of location is not possible. So what I'll do here, you will get IK solver plane where you will get a swivel angle option. When you use this, you can actually rotate it from the thigh, right? This is called swivel angle in Max and pole vector in Maya, right? In Maya, you will call it as a pole vector. This is basically rotation of from your starting of the IK. Okay, so you will get a swivel angle. That is why we had created a swivel angle in our, we have created a swivel, right, so that we could connect that swivel from here, and then we can give that rotation, directly control the rotation from our controller. So now let's explore from the motion. Here you will get a pick target. Currently there is already a swivel angle is there, and we are not going to connect it from anywhere directly, so we are currently not using that. Okay, but here it is there, so we are going to connect that through this one, but not now. Now there will be a parent space, IK goal or start joint, from where you wanted that to happen or it should control. So from IK goal, that means it is going to be controlled from here, or from a start joint, that means it is going to be controlled over here. So both of that option is going to affect the particular hierarchy. Now there will be a threshold, will be the position and rotation. That means the position and rotation of this particular motion. This we will, because this is a IK solver plane, right? So it will always be affected about the swivel angle. Now there is a solution iterations, might be it whenever you find an iteration word inside of a 3ds Max or any 3D software, it means you are actually applying some layers of particular property. For example, if it is we are affecting swivel angle, so the motion of swivel angle has to be affected through iteration. It is going to be smooth because you have given it a 40. The lesser the amount, the motion will be affected in a blocky way, in a linear way, right? So you can give the more the value, the heavy the file will become, but the smoother the motion will be. Okay, so every time you need to if there is an iteration, try to provide that from 6 to 8, but here it is 40, right? So it is okay because in 3ds Max iterations has been dealt with a separate unit. So you need to know that how much unit you are going to provide in this. So iterations and thresholds means quite the same. These are the layers and these are the radiuses value, right? So radius values is kind of a different than in comparing to layers of values, right? To get a more accurate computation, that is the better uh, explanation. Computation, that means the calculation. Okay, now let's just talk about your IK display option, that how this display is gonna look, how the solver is gonna display. Its appearance has to be selected from here. Then PRS parameter, these are actually the connections. These are used to connect a certain property of the particular locator, right? So we will be might be not be needing right now. And position XYZ in the viewport, which vector it is going to be looking at, and key infos. These are the keys, easy ease, easy in out, that could be given inside of a timeline. And then there is a key info advance, right? It's kind of a use for over these, right? So these are the total option in the IK IKs, right? So let's connect this IK to our controller so that you can move the controller along with the IKs. Now you can't use controllers directly, constraints directly over your controller. The reason is that uh, the constraints is actually gonna forbid one motion to another, right? Because currently if we wanted to give a position over here and I want this object to be followed through this, and that could be a little bit complicated. Let me just say this is the parent and this is going to affect the child, right? And child, if I provide a constraint, that means this child is always gonna follow its parent and there will be no other authority to control over it, right? But if I wanted that this child has to be followed through each and every person in the family, then I had to link this particular object. Okay, so how to link all that? Just select your child first, click over here, this is select and link, and then click, click and drag, click over here. Now it is being selected. Now let's see whether the process is actually works. So now yes, it is working, and you can see these are also affected, but that is on a good manner because there is no connection available for them, right? So we are going to use some different options for them. Okay, again let's do this similar, select, click and drag and provide that, right? That's, now you can see it is being applied. Okay, now if I wanted to provide the similar link to this, so I'll just have to select this particular layer, and as you can see this is, everything is being controlled through this, right? So this is the pelvis bone, right? So what I'll be doing, I'll be just providing that similar kind of motion to this, and let me just show it to you that now your um, object is actually being controlled through, yeah, everything is linked each other. And as you can see, currently these controllers are not linked to its masters, and neither there is any connection among the bones and the controllers. Yeah, no, no, yeah, probably exactly you're getting it in the z axis, y axis, and that is why I give given these colors into it, right? There is no procedure, but to be a creative and to be better, better for the animators to read the motion of the particular character, this is quite good for them to understand. And because in the max you will have, there is no Lambert shader, so you can provide any color to the particular shader. So yeah, in Maya there is you had to affect another shader. You need a different shader for this one because everything is actually having a single Lambert in the Maya. Yeah, so this thing actually a little, yeah, not possible. I cannot say anything is not possible, right? Because everything is possible inside of our 3D softwares, right? Because there are plugins, there are scripts through which you can get an exact interface of a Max in Maya. All right, so let's connect these. Now if I wanted to connect I wanted to connect this with this, and I wanted to connect this with this, right? And orientation and everything has to be connected. So first let's just say if I wanted an orientation, right? Just a minute. Probably the time is kind of over. Let's complete this, and we're gonna do all of those other things because we have done the theory part. So we are now gonna be working on, yeah, on putting those theories into a character. Okay, so That's it for today. Bye bye. Take care.